So I just finished Mandelbrot's book on fractals. He's the guy who came up with the math. Nassim Taleb loves the work too. And I agree with it. Taleb calls them power laws, but there's a moment in the book where he talks about change. And he talks about there's three kinds of change: mild, wild, and no. And as I looked over programs that worked in my career and careers and for other people, I began to notice something interesting is that there are programs that work really well because there are these tiny, mild changes. One of the strange things about why I think easy strength works so well, first, and this is the most important, is that for many people, it's the first time you ever worked on this quality called strength. So miracles happen when you focus on strength. But as you go through the 40 days of basically doing the same thing every single day, 5 days a week, the mild changes are you add a little bit of load when the weight feels light. Or if you feel like going a little heavier, but you don't think you can get 5 reps, well, then you do 3 reps. It's not crazy at all. It's mild. If you're on a traditional park bench program, like you can get at the website, which I think our park bench generator might be the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Thank you, Brian. I had nothing to do with it, folks. But it is literally you're inside my brain, so be careful up there. But what you'll notice when you're doing a traditional park bench workout is that when you change from something like a half kneeling press to a standing press, there's no huge difference there, but you add more load or another rep, or you lay down to a one-arm bench and you notice the next day soreness in all kinds of places you'd forgotten. Mild changes that you can continue doing. And then there's the other extreme, wild. And I was thinking about this. I've always thought I missed the boat from a genius insight from the great Olympic lifter and Mr. Universe, Tommy Kono. 8 weeks out from weightlifting meet, he put himself on an extremely structured 8-week program. He would lift in the meet, and the following Monday, start bodybuilding again. That's a wild change. A better example might be a blessing that happened in my life. And when I got back from the Middle East, I hurt my back terribly. And I wish it was more heroic than this, but I picked up a typewriter and my back just went out. So for over a year, I couldn't lift weights. So because I have a little bit of psychoticness in myself, my doctor said the best thing I could do was learn to do bilateral swimming and ride a bike. And I figured, well, if I'm going to swim and ride, I might as well run and go do triathlons. So I did sprint triathlons for about a 2-year period. When I finally was whole again, it's weird about backs. If you've ever had a back injury, one day you're fine. Then it's like it never happened. I was like, okay. But it was a good year and a half, maybe even up to 2. When I went back into the weight room, I was a whole new person because that was a wild change from Olympic lifting and throwing the discus every day. And then there's a third kind of change called no. And I think there's a secret to no. A lot of you are going to hear no change like, well, that's a bad thing. No. No change are the good habits that you have. For example, on my pirate map, every night I'm concerned with my sleep hygiene, making sure I do certain things right before I go to bed, winding it down, making sure I do certain things in a certain order. Once again, this morning, what woke me up was the coffee maker going off at 5:30. I try to eat 8 vegetables a day. Now, you could say, well, why don't you don't eat any vegetables for a decade and then eat 1,000 a day? That would be a wild change. And I can see the value of that. But when we're talking about certain things like health and longevity, no change is probably better. Going to the dentist 3 times a year, over and over and over and over and over again, is far better than never going to the dentist and then trying to catch up with daily visits for a year after your teeth are rotted to the core. So it's to me, this little fractal toolkit is really valuable in all areas of your life. There are places for the mild change. I would argue for most people with their fitness goals, mild change is what you want. In exercise selection, same but different. In reps and sets, vary the numbers. If you're you should be doing about 15 to 25 reps generally in most exercises most of the time. But that's 3 sets of 8, or it's 5 sets of 5, or it's 8 sets of 3, or it's 5 sets of 3. Those are mild fluctuations. In performance, so let's review this. In health and longevity, I would suggest get the best habit you can by the age of 4 and just stick to them the rest of your life. Oh boy, that's good advice right there. Wear your seatbelt, floss your teeth, all those silly, don't smoke, all those very basic things, and do them the rest of your life. No change. Mild change in the areas of fitness. In the area of performance, you might have to throw in some wild changes. Maybe, and many of my good friends who are elite discus throwers, almost all of them to a person said they retired, took a season off, went to one track meet maybe as a lark, threw almost as well as they'd ever thrown in their life, and rebooted their system because that was a wild change. So I want to share that with you this week.